So we're doing our latest podcast episode, so we thought it'd be great to catch up with you, CEO, Chief Executive of Bradford City, of course. Just curious to kind of find out if people haven't followed Bradford as closely as maybe they would their own club. Your route into the role, would it be fair to say, was unconventional? Would that be the correct word to use?
Oh, well, everyone's got to start somewhere, I guess. You know, I don't know what a conventional start would look like. For me, probably it was a difficult period for the club. If I look back now, it's actually quite a long time ago. And, you know, I'd worked in pretty much every department in clubs, in a couple of different clubs. So I felt I was, the club felt I was ready to potentially step up. I had guidance, obviously, around me. I wasn't flying entirely solo. And that's where we are. So, no, perhaps unconventional, but I don't know how when it would start anyway, so I would have nothing to compare it against.
How old were you when you took the job? 29?
29. I probably would have been 28, actually.
Bradford lad?
It was slightly delayed. Yeah, Bradford boy.
Bradford boy, 28, 29.
Yeah.
Daunting, surely, more than anything. Is it the excitement or the nerves, or how do you kind of approach when you're told that we want you to take the club forward?
I think it was a mixture of emotions. I was... people talk about anxiety a lot in life, and I think that's a dial-up of fear, the word being scared. I'd be lying to you if I wasn't a little bit scared. We were second bottom in the division, and I still wonder if part of the reason that I was given the role is that perhaps I was the one who would take us into the National League, which I was never going to allow to happen. I was fearful, excited. It was a dream for me, it was what I wanted to do. That was my aim in life, to arrive in this position by 30. So it was an initial goal reached. And to do it at your hometown club, which was I never saw that, absolute privilege. So, I remember at the time speaking to various people that I trusted, former players, former managers of a club. What would you do? If you were in my position with what's in front of us, and they said, I'd do it. So, some people probably quietly thought that would be difficult for me, and I understood that. I completely understood that. But, I decided it was right. I think you get one chance in life, as much as we know, and I don't regret that. I think you have to take opportunities when they come to you. I had to learn on the job very quickly, still learning every day. And that's the way I saw it. I felt I could help. I was really determined, and I felt we were in trouble. We needed to make some changes, and we needed to be competitive. We weren't. So by hook or by crook, we got away from where we were. That was very difficult. There were some nights where we probably didn't sleep, if I'm honest, and it took it out of you. But when I look back now, it's all part of the journey in your life, So no, it was an opportunity I wanted to take, and one that I felt, going back to what I said, you get one chance at life, so why would you pass off that opportunity?
Mentioned a couple there, not sleeping and things like that. What would you say the main pressures are that come with your job? I imagine there's a few.
Yeah.
I think, probably a bit more than me in my little mess around job.
But the same pressures.
It's, what would you say are those main pressures that come with being the chief executive of not just a football club in the EFL, but it would be fair to say quite a significant club as well, a well-known club throughout English football?
Just the pressures that would come with any club in that regard. You learn more about the pressures as you go along, and you learn to deal with them and where to put them in your mind and how to work with them. But that's why I wanted the job. I wanted to work under pressure. I think that's the best way to be. But it's not me. We've got incredible people at the club, and that was the thing that I knew we had to sort out. We had to get. We had really small staff, and you put in so much pressure on everybody. So it was about, can we get more people in the building that can help us and make us better, and assembling that team around me, in my view, was essential. And it takes time. It takes a long time to turn it around. I think the main pressure was I want to win very badly, and I'm very impatient, and I knew it would take time. So you have to balance that in your own mind. There are outside pressures. You have to learn to deal with them and how to handle them and turn them on and off at the right times. But I don't think there is a main pressure, because the pressure you put on yourself. If you care about what you're doing, you're under pressure the second you get out of bed in the morning. So that's how I see it. But I don't necessarily see it as, you talk about big club and the eyeballs on it. That's good. I'd rather work for a football club that people are interested in. Do you know what I mean? So, and that's no disrespect to any other club. This is a big club that should be playing in a higher division, and I'm absolutely determined that we will be at some point in the very short future.
Mentioned about wanting to win there. It feels like a thankless job almost, in that you want to win and you put everything. You mentioned putting a team together around you, and that includes then helping to build a team on the pitch.
Yeah.
That when that does well, it's almost that everyone else kind of gets the credit for doing it. When things go wrong, it goes above that, and it feels like it's then targeted towards the top. How do you kind of deal with it being that almost thankless job in that aspect?
I mean, I don't think it's a thankless job, but you have to, what you've put there, you have to accept that. That is the job. So if you want to be loved, do something else, frankly. So I don't worry about that. I think that the people inside the building and the people you work with, their opinion matters to me the most. And I think that, that is the difficult part. But that's because we kind of all want the same thing. So, and in life, when things aren't going well, people will always think, I need some, there must be a reason, a deeper reason, or whatever. So that you just have to accept that. I don't spend too much time thinking about that. Perhaps maybe a few years ago I probably did, but I didn't have the experience to deal with it. I didn't have an understanding of the ups and downs. And I remember I could take you back to a time where we'd appointed Mark Truman in a temporary position, and then made him interim and full time, and we did really, really well. We went from second bottom in the league to 8th, and we went 1-0 up at Newport, at Cardiff Stadium, behind closed doors, in the height of COVID. And that was when I realised what inexperience felt like inside yourself as a human being, because we were 6th when we went 1-0 up. And in my mind, I thought, maybe this could be an incredible season. And when I look back now, that was just it. We dropped away after that game. We had some injuries, things went against us, and we finished 15th. But actually, when I look back, I always mark that in my mind as a time when I thought, this is so close. It wasn't very close at all. And then you learn what close looks like. We've booked our place in the EFL Trophy semi-finals. So we're in our 3rd semi-final now in about 16, 17 months. And the last 2 didn't go where we wanted them to go. So I know how it feels to come up short. And I think once you learn how to deal with that, you can better handle everything else, if that makes sense. But really, we're talking about expectation. That's what we're talking about. Pressure comes from various angles. But I think we've got to thrive off that. That's the bit that keeps you going back to the well, going, we have to make this better. Because if there's no expectation, then what we're doing it for? It's the same in your job, just the same. You have expectation, pressure. If you don't have it, what's the drive? So it's just the same.
Very good point. You mentioned Mark there, and it's something that a couple of things that I've always been curious about, and maybe this is just kind of getting my football curiosity answered on a lot of stuff. The process of appointing a manager, there's been kind of a couple during your spell. What goes into that? What do you look for when you're trying to bring a manager to the club? Because I don't imagine it's as simple as I'm like on Football Manager, where I just put my CV in and go, please, can I have it? And they go, come on in, yeah, well, welcome along. How does that whole process work? Kind of what do you look for when you're doing it?
Well, I think first there's different periods. So, my first appointment from outside of the club was Derek Adams, and I was looking for a manager that could give us a real shot in the arm very quickly. He demonstrated that on a lower budget, which is what we were working with, frankly, he could turn players around and improve them. And for various reasons, that didn't work out. So that it was, I think at the time, it was a very popular appointment. I don't think we've had too many unpopular appointments, but it didn't work out. So I was presented with the opportunity to bring Mark Hughes here. I felt it was too good for Bradford City to turn down. We did very well. We got very close. He improved standards, and he was a pleasure to work with, him and Glyn. And we started to recruit properly. truth be told, we appointed Stephen Gent, we appointed scouts, and I think in Derek's period, he was probably let down by the fact we didn't give him the scouting network, if I'm honest. When I look back now, it's easy to reflect in it with hindsight, but now that's in place, and we've had 6 windows since Stephen's been at the club, and I've added David Sharp to the mix, and I think we've got better. I think we're getting better, and I think you've got to do that all the time. You know, my job is to try and get as many talented people as I can, try and keep them here, which is really hard because all the Premier League clubs keep taking our best staff, which is a real challenge. But keep them here and then help them, guide them, and try and get the best out of everyone. And I think when you where we are now, you know, I brought Graham in. That was a slightly different process. I think we did 4 or 5 weeks. Very grateful to Kevin McDonald, who stepped up and kept it steady for us while we did that. But different appointments at different times for different reasons require different thoughts. And I felt this time around, having made the, if you like, purchase of Derek Adams and the hiring of Mark Hughes, who was, I think, a very substantial name for this football club to appoint, I then felt it was right that we took a period of reflection and time, you know, and we got to the manager that I felt would best fit this football club for him, us, and how we want to work and play. And we're still on the process, but we're doing better than we have been doing. His win percentage is very good. He's a pleasure to work with, him and his assistant, and I think he represents a football club. I think he gets what we are, and he's, you know, I think we've got a manager who really cares about his job, and I think every manager we've had has cared about the job. That's not the point, but where we are just now, and it was difficult. We were not in a great spot when he took over, and we've had some bumps along the way, and there will be some more bumps, but we're moving in the right direction.
Mentioned about a lot of people coming in, one of those being David, and it's another football curiosity I've got. Transfer windows.
Yeah.
We've just had one. Again, I'm going to do the Football Manager FIFA analogy of how that works.
Just like football,
mate. yeah, just there you go. Can I have the player now? Thank you, great. I wonder if you could take us back to just before that January window. What is the process for approaching a transfer window? Because it is a huge balancing act of fans at every club are the same. Want a new player, give us a new shiny thing, get new players in. But then, of course, you've got budgets to work with, and then you've got to balance the playing squad, and they've got to fit in, and there's this kind of whole factors that come into it, I assume. What goes into the kind of planning process for a window?
A great level of detail, and going back to talking about Stephen and David, by having them in the building, that is, Stephen particularly can focus purely on player recruitment. So right now the window is closed. Stephen will be building the summer's recruitment plan with David. So we've just finished, so you'd think, oh, well, downtime. There's no downtime.
Holiday time and
absolutely
see you
not.
later.
Absolutely not. And I think what Stephen will tend to do is just after a window, he'll watch one of our games. But then that's the last game he'll watch of ours. You know what I mean? So it's, just to give you an insight there, it's a lot. I mean, we had injuries in October and November, which were well documented, and it probably cost us points because it puts so much pressure on the boys to keep churning out results. The same guys, same 18 nearly every week. Saturday, Tuesday, so we were talking about it October, November, but we always would be. And then we had deals done really in December, some deals in the pocket. And then we had moving parts, if you like, towards the rest of the window. But there is a great deal of planning goes into it because you've got 22 senior players that we're allowed, plus keepers and young players. We're at 19, so we always have to manage the balance of the squad. But we also have to look at players that are out of contract, in contract. Are they going to play? What are their plans for us? Do we need a different kind of player? Does the manager need something else? And with all that in mind, it's a constant moving thing. And but that's how windows tend to work and how they should work. I think, based on what I've seen, I think they're the best way.
A lot of planning, but what happens? Hypothetical situation, or maybe not, when your top scorer, your top striker goes down injured. 5 days is it into a January window?
Yeah.
What kind of happens then? Because I imagine it's not maybe panic, but it's that is far from ideal, and it's not like he's going to be back next week either.
Absolutely not. And and Andy, it was a really devastating period for the football club and Andy. And for a guy that's given so much to the club, and he's 15 goals from 100, he was devastated. And we brought the news to him as a football club because we felt it was the best way to handle it. And yeah, it was difficult. But once Andy had got his head round it, we spoke at length, and he said, we need some bodies, don't we? We need someone to help. And he's gutted that he can't help the team. But of course, that again is the game. You can plan, but there's a quote about being punched in the face. That the plan goes out the window. We didn't know, no one in their right mind would go into a January window and look to replace your leading goal scorer, unless you've got a wish of failure, in my view. And we certainly weren't looking for that. We might have been looking to add to the forward line, which we did. And Andy himself would probably agree that was needed to give him help as well, but not. It was a real blow for us, and it certainly changed your planning and your thoughts. But no, thankfully, and I'm really pleased, Cookie's in a really good place. He's recovering, and we'll see him on the pitch again. That's the main thing.
Data-driven is a phrase that you hear a lot. Brentford, Brighton, clubs like that, kind of clubs that I think it's fair to say have probably exceeded maybe previous expectations of them. What extent would you say data-driven is used at Bradford City? Is it something that kind of you lead on? Is it slightly used, or how do you kind of see that?
I would say we're data-informed. I would say at times we can be led by it. It depends. We have scouts, we have Stephen and David, and the eye is important. The manager has to have a view on the player as well when he watches them. But the data's there to sometimes underpin opinion, because if you deal in fiction and you get, this is what I think of a player, I think that might have happened in the past here, and it can cause you issues when it doesn't play out how you thought it might. But data doesn't really lie, and it can be quite surprising often when you look at the data analysis that we have to reflect on. You can sometimes look at it and go, really, I didn't see that, we didn't see that, or that specific part of that player's game is really good. We use it heavily. Again, that was brought in around the time that we appointed Stephen in 22, and it's been very useful.
Deadline day then. Apparently clubs hate it. Media love it.
I like it.
I was going to say, actually,
I like it.
What's your kind of thoughts on it? Is it quite literally your alarm goes off at 5 a.m, I need to be here at 7 a.m, and I can't leave until midnight? Is it really as hectic as probably you think?
No, because you have plans in place. Yeah. So on deadline day, I'll use this as an example just for recently. We knew the 3 players that were coming in the door, and that was all orchestrated Saturday, Sunday. Some of them were the week before. I think the goalkeeper was coming, Romney Critchlow. We managed to put that together over the weekend, and Teo as well, because we had 2 really difficult injuries for us at Wimbledon. So we felt we needed to go and take Teo, which we'd been looking at. So they were all, if you like, orchestrated. But I think it's unique. I think it makes football really special, and I think other sports should follow it, really. It's a bit like when we talk NFL drafts. People make a big deal out of it. It's huge. It's a great talking point, and for the Football League clubs, it's a time it gets us in the spotlight. The Premier League is interesting, but there's more signings get made in the other 72. So, no, I think it's great. It's very entertaining internally, I can assure you, because we all fighting away trying to get the things done. But what you see is you saw collaboration, like a team effort. There's a lot of moving parts, whether it's our media staff who, the poor guys sit there all night waiting for the phone, only for me to tell them we're done when they've sat there for 3 hours. So it's those guys I feel the most for, but for the players as well. You've got to think they've got families and they've got drives, and some people are coming from the south and the north, and you're asking them to go through quite a lot of questions in their mind about what's right for them in a very quick period if you do something on deadline day. So we try to avoid doing it on the day, but equally, sometimes opportunities arise, and some did on deadline day, and we didn't necessarily take them because they weren't right for us, but in the past we have, and some of them have been fantastic, some of them not so much.
I was going to ask actually about those opportunities that arise, because maybe I've interpreted wrong, but if the media staff are on standby, that suggests just don't log off just yet. Potentially something you could never know.
You never know.
What are those opportunities kind of like? Is it literally you get, look, this player could come, this player could go, and then suddenly all that planning, and the planning goes out the window, but the collaboration probably comes to the fore?
I don't think any manager would ever want his best players to leave. So I will always work with the managers desire as well. So we certainly don't try to entertain that on deadline day, because I think that is pretty dangerous. And you can't plan. I think the opportunities are very simply, do you think we've located a player here that can, one, we can afford, two, fits, three, the data tells us, and four, is better than what we've got, or can help an area of potential weakness, or if we have an injury or whatever. Simple as that. And if we felt that, then you've got to look at it. But no, that makes it slightly more entertaining, you know. But everyone has an opinion, everybody, but ultimately the shared opinion is, can this help our squad? And we have to try and go into every window and finish it stronger than we started it. And I think generally we have done, but there are sometimes you sign a player and if it doesn't work out, they get injured, and you just can't control that. You know, we had 7 of our, I don't know, main players, if you like, injured in October and November all at once. And there's no plan for that. You know, we can't have 7 top players earning great money to just plonk them back in. So you have to take that on the chin then. And I think our January has probably been a little bit of, if we were to lose 7 more players, how do we help the guys that have got to go back out there every day? Can we get them some support who's going to challenge for their spots? And I think that was our January, really.
Final question, and I think I know the answer, but I'll ask it anyway. What would a successful season for you represent at Bradford City come the end of May?
Well, we'd like to get out of the division. There's no doubt about that. We're doing well in the cup as well, but our focus is on the league, without a doubt. When I look back at the history books, we've not got out of this division automatically since 1982. We need to change that. And we've won the playoffs in 2013, and it was unbelievable. So if you could guarantee me winning at Wembley in a playoff final, I'd take it today. Thank you very much. But equally, I'd prefer to just get us out of the division. So we'll be doing all we can. We finished 1 point outside the playoffs last season in what was a difficult season for us generally. We were inside them the other season by a point. We need to be a little bit clearer than that, I think. But it's really competitive. You know, I think there's a belief that with Wrexham and Stockport out of this division, it's some kind of weaker league. I don't see that. I think it's way more competitive as teams taking points off each other across the board. You saw it the other night, Bromley 3-0 up, 3-3. There's nothing guaranteed, and we're certainly not getting carried away. We've got 18 games to go as we sit here, and we need to win at least half of them, at least, maybe more. So we want to go as best. That's just for the minimum standard, if you like. We're ambitious, and of course, silverware is success. So I think if you work at Bradford City and someone asks you what success looks like, there's only one answer, which is winning.